Peace, peace, peace. This is Kevin K. Dog Phillips, co-host of the Way Left podcast. Thank you for tuning in to all the episodes previous to this one, and thank you for checking out this episode, episode 13, part 1. During this episode, both I and Wayne Bird Bell made comments that were not completely accurate. We do not ever want to put forth anything that is partly true, half true, or misleading. And so I took it upon myself during the editing process to correct all statements that I could find that were incorrect. So anytime you hear a statistic that's not correct or some statement made that kind of misleads you, the audience, or may mislead you, the audience, I corrected that. So you'll see text appear on screen while we're discussing whatever we're discussing at the time to help clarify that. It's a discussion, and sometimes discussions you don't get all the facts right while you're discussing something. So I did my very best to clean that up using that method. So there'll be text on screen to rectify that. There's also a statement made by my co-host that I find, frankly, I find inexcusable, even in a joking context. So I'm gonna give him an opportunity in a future episode, maybe a couple of episodes from now, since we're already working on some episodes we already shot. So the next live shoot the next time we record together, I'll ask him about that, and you'll see that response if he chooses to respond. You'll see that in episode 15, probably something like that. All right. Anyway, thanks for checking us out, and we appreciate all your support. And I do apologize for the statements that we made that were not completely accurate. I did my very best to correct those. Got more skill, more aim, and more ammo. You could get it all from a big or small barrel. Welcome, everybody. Peace, peace, peace. This is the Way Left podcast. I'm your co-host, Kevin K. Dog Phillips. My co-host will be joining in shortly. But I'm going to open up the show with some, he would call me Black Power Dog. So I'm going to do some Black Power Dog shizzle, and then we'll get into the bullshit of the Way Left podcast. As I said in the last full episode of the podcast, I did a short, just messing around with the Puffy trial a little bit there. Get on that in a little bit, but the episode prior to that, I read from the Nubian newsletter. This is the Nubian newsletter. He's already here. I'm gonna have to go ahead and let him in. He early. No, he's actually on time.
On time. On time.
I told him to give me another 15 minutes, but he didn't hear that.
No,
he
I didn't catch that
text. So he's already in the building.
How are you? Durham, North Carolina. Look,
I'm good,
I'm
brother.
doing
How you
good, man.
doing?
Look at that, boy. Look, showing that Durham, North Carolina shirt. Yeah. Got to do it.
Shit.
All right, dog. Where your glasses at, man?
I got my glasses, but I was about to read something, so I had the shades on.
There you go.
And then I took the shades off because I was going to read from the Nubian newsletter.
Wait a minute, that's still going?
Oh, not at all. These are old. This one is from August 2010. So this goes all the way back. This goes back to August 2010, during the Obama Rama years.
Obama Ramadan.
Obama Rama. Obama Ramadan. Ramadan Ding Dong is what when I was Muslim and I had to do the Ramadan and do the fast, and I was working for car park company. Yeah, car dealership or whatever. I had to deliver, parts or whatever. And he was like, "You want some coffee?" I was like, Nah, it's Ramadan. So he's like, "Oh, okay. Well, what's that?" So I broke it down to him a little bit, and then the next day He sees me and he's like, "Hey, Ramadama Ding Dong."
Yo, ain't they some mother?
Fucking
Yo,
honkies, man.
yo, they got nothing to do.
Oh
Nothing to
man,
do.
Ramadama
Yeah.
Ding Dong.
Mo-
But as everybody knows, I don't take myself that seriously, man. So I wasn't really bothered by it. But the article that I was going to read from was an explanation as to why I refer to black people as
Ah.
Nubians.
Mm-hmm.
Nubian. Nubian. With the New Being newsletter being
Right. Well, that was a nice
NU-BEING.
little play.
Right? So, yeah, that was a
Yeah.
play on words. Right? So, all right. So I'm just going to highlight. I'm going to do the highlights. Let me give you some highlights. Nubian is not defined as black in any way. Africa's original name was never Nubia, and Nubian is not Swahili for Negro.
Right.
These are the untruths. Truth is, Nubia is an actual African region located on part of the Nile Valley, southern Egypt, and the northern Sudan. In detailing the slave trade routes, it becomes clear that all kin to the American slave did not come from Nubia, that part of the continent. So, in other words, the slave trade, if you look at Africa, oh, here's Africa right here, right? So this is the West. This is where we come from.
On his ring. On his ring.
Nigeria.
It's West. On the ring.
On the ring. Backwards, but that, yeah. Okay. Nubia is over here.
By his pinky.
Nubia is over here somewhere. Yeah, but we'll put by the pinky ring, bitches. We'll do we'll put a picture up. We'll put a picture up to
Right.
try to break it down. But because it's here, you can't really see it. But nah, you can't see that. So we all come from West Africa, slave trade. If you came to the Americas, South America, North America, Central America, you were brought from the West. If you went to the European, Eastern European, or you went to England and the UK and all that, you came from the eastern part of the continent. So you actually did come from the east.
So
Nubia is over there.
Do you believe that all majority of blacks that made it into America all came from Africa?
Well, all
no, we got that
from Africa.
Yeah, from the slave trade. So the migration from slave trade brought us all here. I have a theory that we were here. Half of us was here. Probably even more than half was already here. Because I'm not trying to give them credit. Because they're trying to get credit on bringing us here and dispersing us all throughout the lands. I don't want to give them credit like that anymore, anyway.
Okay, that's an interesting take. So, all right, if you read John Clark's book, John Henry Clark, he wrote a book. They were here before Columbus, right? So we were here before Columbus. There was an African trader, Prince Hall, and he traded in. I don't remember what he traded in, but he was a boatsman and he was a tradesman, and so Africans were here present, right? If you look at the Nubian pyramids, if you look at the Egyptian pyramids, there's the same pyramids, not the same scale and all that, but those same designs, that same work that you see in Egypt exists in Nubia, exists in the Mayans, and exists in all these places. And so you say, well, where'd that come from? You know, oh, that came from Egypt. Well, how do you know that? If you over here, okay, so you must have came over, right? The Moors traveled the world. The Moors dispensed knowledge and information throughout the whole world. So if they ever go into the Vatican's basement and they pull all that information out, there's photographs of black, well, not photographs, but there's portraits and paintings and such of a black Jesus, black popes, you know. So people say, will there ever be, we're going to get the first black pope. You've already had the first black pope. That's old. We had that
did we ever, was Obama the first black president?
There's some theories.
He's probably the fifth.
White Washington.
Right? He's probably the fifth black president.
There's some theory out there that Washington was black, that Lincoln was black.
Nah, even before him, the first black president was. I shouldn't even start this conversation without having some of the facts.
I'm with Dr. Ben on this. Dr. Ben Johnson, who says basically somebody told him, and then what?
Yeah. No. The first black president, is not George Washington. George, he was the first president. They said he was the first. He was the first white president. But first, it was a black president beforehand.
Yeah. Okay. I've heard of this theory too, that the Americas, this America, had already established a form of government with the presidency and all that kind of thing before the establishment of this democracy. This thing that we call a democracy. So I've heard that theory too. I don't know. That's a homework assignment for people out there.
Go check it out. Obama's like the fifth.
But so people were asking me, like, what does that mean? Why is that relevant? Da 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 da. And I was like, well, all right. So you want to focus on slavery in your history, right? That's all we ever see. That's all we ever talk about. Slavery, 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 right? Okay. To the point where we started saying as a people, we come from slavery.
Yep.
And so I looked around and I said, well, where's slavery on the map?
Yeah.
Where's slavery?
What city is that?
You don't come from
what city is that?
Where's that? There's no city, no street, no town, no country, no continent called slavery. You're not a slavatoid. You're not a Slavanian. You're an African. You're an African who happens to be in America. You're not.
Or you just been tricked.
You don't come from slavery.
Or you just been tricked out of your land.
Well, listen, I can deep dive into that too. But if you look at all the African conflicts, right? Every African conflict that's gone on throughout history, there was white European influence right before the conflict. So here's the white man. So no white man, no conflict. White man shows up, all of a sudden now there's a conflict between this tribe and that tribe, right? Because Africans didn't necessarily draw these borders. It's that simple. I felt like there's a whole diatribe on that. You can find it online.
No doubt about it.
You gotta be pretty smooth with the Google.
The white man is like a woman.
You can find it.
The white man is just like a woman. If you,
nope.
Nope.
Nope. Nope. I'm not doing
no,
the
it's not red pill. I'm just saying.
Right.
Look. You. All right. If you got a gang of guys and they're doing their thing, you add a nice, sexy, seductive woman in the mix, it'll disrupt everything.
So you're saying the white man is a sexy, sultry,
slick,
voluptuous,
slick, slithering tongue. Learning, they know how to disrupt. Yeah, man, they good at what they do. They do it all the time. At my job, they do it there. I'm going to show you what they do at the job. This is low scale, not even high scale. This is low scale. Low hanging fruit, the whole shebang. basically they don't want none of us. You got a whole bunch of stores. They don't want us to be friendly with other stores. They want each store to be against every other store. How does that make sense? It only makes sense is that if we're friendly with each another store and we have friendly competition and we're talking and we're conversating, there is no need for the middleman in between. And also, they can't infiltrate if anything is going on. We're doing deals, things of the sort. They just don't want, they want to keep the power. They want to be in control, because once they have that, they have no control. None. What is the sense of having a regional manager who's overshadowing 10 stores? If all the 10 stores are working with each other, making things happen, talking about sales, they hanging out, they doing this, and boom, 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 what is the need of you? There's no need for you. So you have to manipulate and do this and do that. I mean, me and you can't really fathom this, but I watched this done in 2 jobs already. 2 jobs. Where one was the owner of the thing, and he just wanted to know everything, which is cool because this is a small business, it's a family business. I get that. But he really wanted the conflict so he could be able to control. Because if everybody's laughing and giggling and working with each other with no conflict, he feels like he's losing the grip, and nobody would tell on the other person on what's going on, if something's missing, or if someone's stealing, or anything like that, because everybody's kind of in on it and he's on the outs. So they do this at this job too. Same thing.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that.
They gotta disrupt it.
I could see that. I do think that, yeah, disruption in an uneasy environment. It's like if I'm in the batter's box playing baseball and I'm just eating this pitcher up, eventually he's going to throw at my head.
Yeah, he's going to make you right.
So now
if you're talking about baseball,
I can't. I'm focusing now.
When they walking a guy, deliberately throwing the pitch right at his arm, his leg, just get the game disruptive to knock everybody off, so everybody wants to fight. Good. They're not on this batting streak anymore. Everybody's disrupted. That's how I look at it. Correct me if I'm wrong. You're a ball guy. I mean, would that be a play?
Yeah, it's something like that. Right. You throw the ball at me.
At me.
So that I can. Now I'm agitated. My teammates are agitated. All that stuff can happen. I do see a step. Look, I mean, again, we talked about this a few weeks ago. He operates in chaos. He operates in a noise that he creates, so he's comfortable with the noise. If you just think about it in logical terms, I'm an owner of a company. Do you want all your employees to be happy? Yes, of course, right? Logically, makes sense, right? But then you start asking some drill down questions, well, if they're happy, isn't it possible that maybe they start working together? Well, sure, I want them working together, right? But then if they're working together, couldn't that then mean that they can maybe start working together to steal from you? Couldn't they start working together to maybe open up a similar store to yours and start competing with you? Isn't it possible that they can unionize and form a union if they're so friendly? And so now you start opening these questions and you say, well, okay, yeah, maybe I don't want them to be so comfortable around each other. So I need a brown noser. The term brown nosing is basically just somebody with your nose up your boss's ass. I mean, that's what brown nosing is, So you find that brown noser, and you put him in charge, and he's not super cool to be around. People don't really vibe with him.
Yeah,
And so he's perfect.
Yeah.
It's exactly what I need, you know. Somebody who's not afraid to piss people off.
And then bring it back full circle, I'm sure.
And so now you have a new.
Yeah, and to bring that back full circle, even in slavery times, I'm sure they had one of those. I mean, we called them something else, but it's basically the same premise.
You call them house niggas. Like you, Milton Irvin. You punk motherfucker.
Now tell me about this Milton Irvin, man. Come on now. Go ahead.
I mean, so.
Yeah, man. Get this Milton Irvin, because man, boy, I heard you say punk muck.
All right.
Boy, them hood fighting words. Go ahead, man.
He's a train wreck, man. So Milton Irvin was in a book that was written by another one of these half honky dudes, sellout jokers. But he was in the book. Gotcha. So listen to this. All right. Milton Irvin was worth, I got to put my reading glasses on, Milton Irvin is worth millions, right? He's got millions of dollars. He lives in New Jersey and all of that. This was a quote from the book that I read, because I read the book. This is what he said. Integrating the golf club to me was a step in our process as a people. Certainly the risk I was taking was not the same type of risk that the civil rights movement leaders took. It was the risk of alienating my African-American peers who might say, who do you think you are? Some of them said, now you're trying to separate yourself from us even more. Which, we could stop there for a second. So you've been separating yourself from your own people to the point where they're saying even more. Not you're separating yourself. Why? This is a surprise. This is not who you are. No, you're trying to separate yourself even more than you've already been doing so. Or why don't we get together?
Yep.
Well, jump in.
All right, he's separating himself because his daddy is paying him. You know what I mean? His slave daddy is paying him. You get what I'm saying? He got to keep that money coming in. That's what it is. He has no black money. He has all white money. And he has to keep that going by any means. But we talking about millions of dollars, you know, it's a little different. You know, white money. To the point that
all right, we can circle back
to the point that he is a golf thing he's in, correct? And he's trying to segregate and keep that nice and white. He don't want to segregate.
He's trying to join
a white,
essentially, because if he's saying he's entering it, that means that it's an all-white club until he shows up. All right, so you're integrating the club. All right, which also means up until this point, we weren't even allowed to join the golf club, to join this particular golf club, right? So here's the problem I have with this money.
Gotcha.
Okay. We all have jobs. We all earn a living. And all the money comes from a white organization. I don't care what you're doing, right? Everything you watch on TV is on TV because of mass corporations, because of corporate funding. Everything you listen to on the radio is there because of corporate funding. They're called sponsors, okay? The Super Bowl is sponsored. And it go on and on and on and on and on. The reason why NBC or ESPN or whoever it is pays the NFL $6 billion to be able to air the game is because they can sell the ads for that game to corporations in the tens of billions of dollars. That's why.
And then if you do something wrong,
so
if you do something wrong against something, you get a slap on the wrist and them funds are gone.
Okay, you're out of the league.
Yeah, you're out of the league, but you're not out of the league. Your sponsorship is gone. The money that you thought was but
so what?
I'm talking about for those who's trying to keep this thing going. Me and you, we get it, but we're talking about.
I'm talking about I'm talking about those who care about black people and walk with
No.
integrity. I'm talking about those who have empathy. And if your answer to that is
No,
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 then I mean,
no.
that's the
That's
problem.
what I'm saying is that we're talking about this particular person. I'm not talking about anybody else.
I'm talking about the
Oh, you're
mindset
talking about the
of the
mindset
person.
of the person? Okay. The mindset of that type of person, they don't give a damn about black people. They don't care. They care about what's in their house.
Right. And
That's
so,
that's the end of it.
right. So then you're not so then you're not to me, you're not authentically black. And I don't want to hear that
Yeah,
monolith black shit.
yeah,
There is a monolith. Like
yeah,
all of the
yeah.
groups,
Yeah.
there's a monolith. So if you're not part of that authentic blackness, then
The,
you know, get on. I don't know why are you talking about integrating a black why are you talking about integrating a white club as a black man? You do not identify as a black man in any way other than when it suits you, when it benefits you, when you want to be able to say, I
no,
integrated a club. Or you want to go to a club and say, don't you guys want to integrate? I'm the perfect candidate. I'm black, sort of, and I have all the money that I need. So let's do this. That's saying that you're black for the purpose of what? I, I would never take a job because I'm black. Hey, we need a black guy
what?
on the
Well,
board. What do
well,
you say?
they do it. They do it indirectly.
Oh,
All
who's
right.
they?
Let me see. All right, my job, the second to last job, doing the windows. I was jokingly telling him, I said, "You have to hire black people, don't you? You get a nice little cut, don't you?" And he laughed because it's true. It's true. He got a cut. He got a tax cut.
A cut
He
from
got a
who?
tax cut from the government.
Okay, you have to
Oh,
specify that. Okay, so you got a tax. Yeah,
all right.
of course.
They're
There's
right.
tax incentives for being diverse, for having a diverse. Now, but see, here's the thing, right? There's tax incentives for
Yes.
being diverse, but there's also corporate bottom line advantages to being diverse. Every company that finds themselves equally diverse finds their businesses do better under those circumstances. Their businesses do better when the companies are diverse. The most successful companies in America right now are some of the most diverse companies in the
Of
country right
course.
now. So, you know, you that's why you take the job. That's why you take the job. If they say we don't have any diversity, I would say, well, if you had diversity, your company would probably be better. You're not able to think about things the way that I do. You don't come up with creative solutions to things the same way that I do. Not that you can't come up with a creative solution, you just don't have my
Oh,
creativity. And not that my creativity is superior to yours, even though it is, but I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I've been thinking about how to get myself out of certain situations for years that you've never considered. Bring that to your boardroom, bring that to your warehouse, bring that to your storefront, and you'll see a change in how things
well,
are done here. That's a reason why to take a job as a black man, not you need to fill some sort of
well,
quota. Because
well.
then what are you doing that for?
Most cases like what you're saying is that, and then there's mine, and then there's which goes into yours actually. Remember Carl Kanai? You know, he was his whole team was black. Whole team was black. Somehow something happened where uh allocated some money, he owed some money and something like that. But to me, when he was telling me about it, it sounds like it was a dismantling of his regime of what he got going on. But what Polo did, Ralph Lauren did, and all of these other makers like Banana Republic and whoever took some of those urban designers who were in Carl Kanai and put them in there so they can have a urban esque what they're going on. It's almost as similar as Dapper Dan getting a job with Gucci all of a sudden when he was ripping Gucci off for years. You remember Dapper Dan? So it's almost like, damn, we need his, and that goes to your point, you know. Yeah, diversity does help. Yeah, but when you're talking about our community, it's really that they want to tap into our dollars that we can continue to spend because we're the ones who's spending. You know what I mean? I mean, that's just how that is. You know, I mean, we're chopping two subjects. I'm agreeing with you, but then there's another subject where they like to steal from. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, there's right.
Yeah, it's
There's
two
two
different things
different
I'm
things
going with.
going on there. So there's Milton Irving's
Uh, mindset,
mindset and those in his
and
ilk,
then
and then there's the corruption and the theft of, because look, people look at Fubu, Carcanine, these kinds of companies, and most of these companies sold their companies too, which is typical. Like let's get something else clear here. Carcanine, Fubu going out of business, struggling, failing, or selling their business to a bigger entity
no,
is
no,
not
not at all.
uncommon. When's the last time you've seen an oak tree inside of the mall? It's been a while. When's the last time? It's been years. There's dozens of companies that used to be clothing companies that no
Right.
longer exist because somebody bought it and dismantled it, or they mismanaged funds and did not do proper business or did not keep up with the times or whatever it is, and they butt fucked their company, and now the company is gone. This is not unusual. Just because, see, the problem with the black is that you're talking about 5, 6 companies that you can name right away at the top of your head that are
Right.
black-owned companies, right? That made clothes. And when 3 of them go, you're talking about
Right.
3 out of 5. But if you're talking about white companies, you're talking about hundreds,
Oh no doubt
thousands
about
of
it.
these. So when 400 of them go, you still don't notice. You're like, yeah, but you still don't notice. When you're talking about 3 out of 5, you notice. When you're talking about 100 out of
Yeah,
10,000,
no,
you
no,
don't
agreed,
notice.
agreed. Can't dispute that.
Even if the percentage was the same, you wouldn't notice. 1 out of 10 black businesses drop, you'd be like, damn. 1,000 out of 10,000 white businesses go out of business, you'd be like,
Right.
when did that happen? Like that's the difference. You're
Yeah.
not gonna
But
notice.
yeah, but
Milton
yeah, back to
Irving,
my man. All right, so now you explained it, so I get it. We just have a tendency as a people to just want to join into what they got going on, so we can be a part of and be the first of. Man, just to open up your own joint. I wouldn't even mind if he had a whole bunch of black people who were like him just made their own little golf thing. That wouldn't even be a, I'd be like, hey, just get your guys that are just like you, yeah, 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 all of that, wearing punny loafers, and just do your own thing. It's plenty of them.
right,
It's plenty.
funny you should say that.
There's plenty of them.
Later on in the book, Milton says, I tried it a couple of times with a few of
Mm-hmm.
my colleagues. There was a golf course we were trying to buy and have it not as an African American club, but certainly African American ownership and something we could be proud of,
Okay.
right? Now, I wrote, who the hell is we? I wouldn't be proud of that. I would be proud of a Nubian owned club that allowed our urban community a chance to do whatever the hell it is you do at a country club. That, and then I said some other stuff, but I could just go off the top. If we
Right.
bought a country club and set up a free
Right.
summer camp for African American
Right.
kids to be able to go to the
Right.
club and learn how to golf, learn how to swim, play whatever, soccer, pickleball, whatever, I'd be super proud of that. Man, that guy did a
All
great
right.
job. He took a country club and made it readily available for the underserved community. But that's not something that's going to happen because his own fucking daughter didn't understand why poor African American kids would be jealous of them. didn't understand why, if we're well off, shouldn't you be happy for us instead of being jealous or being, the fuck are you talking about? And this is a kid. This is his daughter. So
Well,
again, you talk about
spoiled kids talk
moms.
very different. You know that. No matter what race it is, they talk crazy.
But I'm not concerned with the kid's spoiled nature. I'm concerned about the mom who drove the culture that way. What kind of culture are you driving as a mom in the house where that's the kid that you produce? You produce a kid with that mindset.
Well,
that's
they
ridiculous.
never correct them. They never
correct. I got it.
Hey.
Hold up.
Oh, Black Power Dog, he ain't feeling this today, boy. Black Power Dog ready to kill that man. All jokes, people, all jokes.
This is. I'm not joking. We was not supposed to talk. We weren't supposed to talk about this today.
What we supposed
to? I'm a bit ill. I'm a little ill prepared. Let me do my Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
So I'm not prepared to talk about this, but suffice it to say that you said a while ago, we were talking about this. Aren't you tired? Don't you want a solution? Don't you want a And I was like, yeah, I got you. Makes sense. I'm with you on that. But the reason why I can't formulate a solution, the reason why grassroots Black organizations can't formulate a solution is because of fuckers like that. It's because of people like that. Because his daughter's going to grow up one day. I can't tap her for any of the money or any of the help or any of the resources that I need. I can't tap Milton because he's more concerned about joining country clubs. So he's done. You talk about the youth. Well, let's focus on the youth. Let's focus on the youth. That's the youth.
Yeah, no, you got to definitely focus on the youth by all means. Forget them old heads.
But that's the youth. So that
no, she's gone.
Lost.
No, she's gone. No, she's gone. No,
right.
She's gone.
But that's the problem. The solution is in her hands. It's in my mind. It's in my imagination. But it's in your hands. Therein lies the problem. I have the solutions in mind. I don't have the resources to implement. So I go to those who have the resources, and they said, I spent all my money joining the golf course. I spent all my money on this house. I spent all my money on vacations, and my money is invested. I'm not getting. So therein lies the problem. Now I wait for you to die or get too old or tap your daughter when she becomes of age. I can't talk to her either. There's no solution. Again, you have to create a system that can topple or at least defend us against the system that oppresses us. And you don't have anything strong enough for that. NAACP wants to sue everybody every time something goes wrong. Ben Crump is ambulance chasing our pain. Every time somebody gets shot, Ben Crump gets a hard on. Every time a cop kills a Black man, Ben Crump orgasms and runs out, gets in front of a television camera and starts talking about the injustice and that we're going to fight and we're going to go and we're going to sue and we're going to. Why? Why are we suing the police department for killing a Black man? Why don't we have something that is preventative to these things rather than just having an attorney who goes out here and profits off of our pain?
Solution is every household, man. It's not saying it's simple, but it's every household. It got to start with each individual household. We have to change the mindset. Yeah, man, it ain't no funds. It's not funds. We have not been teaching the youth. We have not been teaching the youth.
No. You can't. No, there's no money.
We haven't been teaching.
Look, here's the problem I have with that, because I addressed this in front of a big crowd of people way back 2010 when the newsletter was going. I addressed this then. I said, okay, fine. want me to go
Right.
out into the street and tell this kid to stop dealing. You want me to go into the street and tell this kid to stop gang banging, stop joining gangs, stop dealing drugs, stop committing crimes, stop having sex, stop having babies, stop doing all this stuff. Okay. What is your alternative for this young man? Stop doing that and do what?
What is?
And you tell me.
Listen.
What? Go to school?
No.
And graduate and do what?
See, the thing is that it's a whole reset. It's a whole reset because you're saying one half and the other person is saying another half, and those things all need to join together. Now, yeah, you tell a kid stop dealing. Well, that was 90s and early 2000s. Kids don't deal. They get high now. So you have to tell the kids now, don't get high. That's one. Two, you got to ask these kids, a majority of them, what do you want to be? What do you look up to? They're not saying basketball players because around here, the basketball hoop is empty. There's no kids of color playing basketball. Over around here, maybe in New York, maybe down south, but not around here. So it's different in each sector. Now, what do the majority of kids want to do? A lot of them don't want to do. Now they want to stream. Now this is the new crack. This is the new block. They want to do that. But now you have to kind of give them a mindset of, hey, you can mix the entertainment, but can you give something positive? What's positive? That doesn't work. This works. It's kind of the same thing as street dealing. It's kind of the same thing as gang banging because it's instant. You get the instant gratification. When you're in a gang, you feel like you're a part of something, even though you're not, but you feel like you're part of something. You walk around, those who are not in the gang, they kind of fear you, and this is what you dig. So now you're telling them not to do that so they don't have that going on. Okay, cool. This is where your part comes in. Okay, what alternatives do you give them? Right now, I can't find a... No. It's to your part of what you were saying. What do you give them? I know, right. and I agree with that. But let's be clear. I'm going to talk about my area, not yours, but here. I can't find a black guy to even fix a car. I can't find a black guy to fix a roof. Can't find a black guy.
But you're in a Mexican dominated
which was once
so
black.
Of course that's going to be the case. Irrelevant. It's not black now. I'm in a predominantly black neighborhood. Everything is black. If you go to Atlanta, everything's black. If you go to Patterson, everything's black.
It's many of black, but we don't. But within those towns and cities, well, not in your area, because you could probably find a guy who can do a roof. You can do some landscape.
I can find a black guy in this city to do anything.
So right. So now in your area, it's more possible for you to do what you need to do in your area. In your area. Why isn't it?
Because having blackness all around you is not the solution to the problem. The solution to the problem is small business ownership. Small businesses make up 45% or more. I'm not talking about a micro business. I'm not talking about some chick who
No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about small business. We're talking about stores.
I'm talking about a store. I'm talking about brick and mortar. I'm talking about a service that you provide where you need 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 employees who are at work. That's a small business. And the majority of Americans in this country, work for small businesses. That is a fact. African Americans own and control 2%. No, I'm saying that wrong way. I'm saying that wrong. The African American population, 2% of that population owns and controls their own business. 2%. It is 5% points below the next lowest group, because we're the lowest group, the Latino. Latinos are 7%. Asians make up the highest percentage. The highest percentage of their population owns small businesses. Then when you look at all of the upward mobility, social comfort measures, whatever you want to look at, graduation rates, college attendance, home ownership, what all those things, Asians are at the top of those lists as well. So if your population has a very, very high percentage of small business owners, and you're at the top of that list, and then I look at all the other things, all the other demographics, do not compare to you when it comes to home ownership, wealth, graduation rates. Their teenage pregnancy rates are basically non-existent. The prison population for the Asian is basically non-existent. You look at how, and then everything that's bad, we're at the top of that. Everything you don't want, we're at the top of the list. So the solution to the problem is right there in front of you. It is small. So
you think that since we own a business, we won't go to jail? You think that's it? Okay, everybody has a business and it's flourishing. We won't go to jail. No. The reason what?
Do the Asians go to jail?
You said that's the answer. I say this. The problem is to keep the business open for the blacks. You know what I mean? So here it is. It is here and there because nobody's going to be able to keep the business open. I mean, we don't know if a business just started. Matter of fact, they had a chicken spot in Hamilton Street, right? Black owned. Sloan, great banging food. People were supporting. All of a sudden, things wasn't tasting right. Short shifting, and all of a sudden it was just Spanish inside there all of a sudden. The main problem is, and this is what I think I got this from you, man, and I'm going to stick with it, is that if I have a chicken spot, my chicken is going to be more expensive than the Spanish guy's chicken and the Arab's chicken because we don't have the chicken connection. We are going to get hammered on the purchasing of chicken because we do not own a poultry deal. The Spanish own a store?
Well, that's not why it's cheap.
Where?
That's not why it's cheaper.
Why is it cheaper for the other group?
It's cheaper for other groups because Chinese restaurants order for 10 Chinese restaurants. We order for one.
No, we got that, but what?
I've seen Indians, Arabs, and Chinese people do it all the time. They don't order, so we pay more because they order from multi. So all the solutions, if black people opened more small businesses, then you would have more restaurants, and then you could order in bigger groups. You could say, all right, let's all 8 of us order the chicken wings. Perfect. Because that's what the Chinese do. That's what the Latinos do.
No, the Latinos don't do that.
They
don't.
Do that.
No, they don't. I know a guy, a Latino, who owned a chicken spot.
Don't do that. I'm talking about in the 15 cities that I've lived in over the past 10 years.
That's what you've seen. I got you.
I've heard it from the mouths of Latinos.
I'm giving you one right now. He owned a Pickin' Chicken that was on Route 27 next to D's nice shop. He owned that one. Right across from 112. Right. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So
nobody knows what any of this is.
No, you're right. Yeah, I know, right? But he was there. I had to ask him. I said, "How much are you paying for the chicken?" He told me for a whole chicken, I'm paying $250 or $150, something ridiculous, because this was the 2000s. I think it was $150 per whole bird.
Yeah.
Black people ain't getting that price.
Yeah.
They ain't getting that price. And he only had one spot. He wasn't ordering with a bunch of other Spanish people.
No, he got the price.
One spot. I said, God dang. That's $150. So you chop a wing, you made your chicken back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm going by.
When I had the deli, the prices of things were ridiculous. I was buying.
It's us. We don't.
I can't remember how it went. It's not us. That's not even if that's true. That's not our fault. We're not
Right. That's what I'm
creating
saying.
these differences in prices, but those differences you're talking about don't exist anyway. I'll go into a
Right.
restaurant depot. There's no price for niggers and a price for everybody else.
Oh, no,
Like
but
that's
what?
not the case. I bought an entire box of eggs, and the eggs were each carton of eggs, which was 12 eggs. Each one of those was worked out to 75 cents per carton. I sold a carton of eggs for $1.50, and I scrambled up and
Right.
fried the rest. So if you want an egg sandwich, I crack an egg and I do it. And if I didn't sell those cartons, I just brought those cartons to the back of the deli and I scrambled up and
Right.
fried those up. And then I went back and I bought
Right.
another case. Now, if I bought 10 cases, now you're talking about 25 cents a dozen for eggs. You can do that when there's 4 other delis that's going to do the shopping for you. I knew the chick who went into
Right.
Restaurant Depot. I was like, you have one store. There's nowhere in the world you need what you're buying for your one store. It's impossible. You have a box truck outside. You got 8 people helping you load this stuff in. You don't need all this stuff for your store. I've seen your store. Now, that's for you and everybody.
Hey.
But for me, it's just me. Arabs was telling me, Indians was telling me, I'm looking at smoke shops. I have one African dude. He said, I will sell you, because I just work here, but I will put you in on the order. Tell me what you're getting. I said, I want this, all this stuff. He said, all right, I'm going to get it for you. He put me in the same order with everybody else. I paid practically nothing for those tobacco products. It was a price I couldn't even fathom. I said, the only way this store is going to survive, and it didn't. The only way this store is going to survive is if we can continue this relationship. And we couldn't continue the relationship for one reason I won't mention. Dumbass. And 2, because...
Is it us? Wait a minute. Hold on. Is it us? Is it just us? That's why you couldn't continue on the relationship? Is it just us? Do we need a reset? Do we need a reset?
We couldn't continue that relationship because the African dude who put me on didn't own it. He just worked there. You have to own and control. You have to own the business. If he owned the business, I'm in on the party. If all those smoke shops were African owned instead of Indian owned, my store is still open today. It's just that simple, man. The result of all of this all stems from the same thing. They own, I think it's something like 18% of their population owns small businesses.
No, of course, no doubt.
Whites are like 12%. Whites are a lesser percentage than the Asians.
What about the Indian?
You look at all the Puerto Rican bodegas that are all.
What about the Indian percentage? What about the Indian percentage?
Indian and Asian.
Kind of the same.
That's the same. Indians are Asians. So India's Asian.
Well,
that's why Asia's the largest continent in the world. They
do a lot of business with each other. Yes.
They lump them together. And even if they don't, it don't matter. Because India has enough Indians. There's enough Patel business owners out there. They don't need the Chinese man. They don't need the Korean man. The Korean man has enough nail salons. They don't need other race groups involved in that. And they own them all. The other problem is when you think of a bodega, who owns them all? Not most, not some, not half, all. Who owns the nail salons? Not some, most, not half.
Once you say bodega, you already said it already. Once you said bodega, you didn't say.
But all right, but who owns all the Krausers? Who owns all the 7-Elevens? Not some, not most.
Right now,
you go down that road. What is the thing that black people own all of?
Crime.
You don't own all of anything.
This nigga ready to fight, boy. He ready to fight. This brother, what? joke ready to fight, boy. Nigga holding his head. He said, "You copper lover. You and your white woman at home, you motherfucker." Listen.
I'm not going to judge you for wearing the
Emerite Delight.
But it's not crime,
no.
man.
All right, look. I'm gonna tell you this.
If a black man did for 15 minutes the crimes that were committed during that bubble, during that housing crash.
Housing crash. Oh, we had nothing to do with that. Oh no.
Stealing all that money. If a black man committed that crime that those honkies was doing, stealing all that money for 15 minutes, he'd be the richest nigga on the planet. Billions of dollars.
No doubt.
The crime that you commit on the street corner does not compare to the crimes committed by companies that shred documents.
The street corner crimes keep the jails full. I mean,
it keeps the jails full. That ain't got nothing to do with the amount of crime.
No. We're not talking about dollars and cents.
That ain't got nothing to do with the amount of money.
No, it keeps the jails full.
I'm talking about dollars and cents. Dollars and cents. If you steal a sandwich every day to feed yourself because you are homeless and hungry and have no other means to feed yourself, you commit a crime every day. But the value of that crime over the course of a year is going to measure up to a few $1,000s. But if you embezzle a bunch of money out of a company, or if you do because the health insurance company they arrested like 500 people, all involved in stealing billions and billions and billions of dollars from their customers and the taxpayers, federal government, embezzlement, theft, fraud. It's a clusterfuck, and it's on the news. You can watch it today. 15 minutes of that man committing that crime brought him in hundreds of thousands of dollars. This man is stealing the sandwich. Who's the bigger criminal? Well, one's going to jail and one's going to stand trial and never go to jail. So he's the bigger criminal because he went to jail.
No.
No, the man that emptied your grandmother's 401k is the bigger criminal. It's not comparable.
It's not.
The amount of crime that's committed by this side versus my side is not even comparable. Suit and tie steal more money than you could ever steal out of a month.
That's true. We get that.
Your theft is calculated. They know your theft is coming. Because what you gonna steal?
Shit.
Couple of shirts, couple of pairs of sneakers.
Snatch and grabs.
You're stealing nothing. You're doing snatch and grabs, and you got about $300-400 worth of merchandise in your arms as you run into the car. It's nothing. It's nothing. There's a guy working at Macy's who's stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from their employees every day. You're being robbed every day when you go to work. It's called wage theft.
Yeah.
Who created a system where you have to walk into your store and log in using the computer that's the cash register? So you got to go to the cash register, log in, you're getting a bunch of questions, customer comes in, are you open? I'll ring you up real quick, and you're doing all that off the clock. You finally get yourself logged in and clock in. You've been here for 15 minutes. It happens every day, all day. It's called wage theft. Who's prosecuting that? Nobody. And it's worth billions of dollars every year because your 20 minutes every day done by millions of Americans every day where they owe you 75 cents for that 20 minutes that you give them every day for free when you go to the bank and you drop their deposit in the safe and drive home off the clock. It's wage theft, and it's going on all day, every day, and it's billions of dollars, and there's no prosecution for that. But you're a criminal. Blacks are, look at all the blacks and all their crimes that they commit. The fuck out of here. You don't commit no crimes compared to what goes on every day. Legitimate businesses, more crimes are committed than the crimes you committed. more crime being committed at GameStop right now than there is in any goddamn street corner in America.